You know, it's not even Halloween yet, but millions of kids already know what they want for Christmas, a new video game system called Nintendo 64.
Nintendo's new game machine is 64 bits, making it the most powerful machine on the market.
On June 23, 1996, during the techno and commercial race known as the Bit Wars, a revolutionary console was released by the entertainment company Nintendo. The name of this console was the N64, and although the N64 was far from being the first video game console which utilized 3D graphics, it still stood out amongst its competition as it was the first ever console to truly equip and utilize the Z-axis, which made the games truly three-dimensional. Though it had its competition in the form of the PlayStation 1 and Atari Jaguar, they were not able to achieve the same amount of success. Overall, the N64 contained never-seen-before technologies and allowed for Nintendo to form new solutions for 3D gaming and drastically improve the ergonomic designs of the controllers. This became a turning point in the market of video games, which have become a multi-billion-dollar market at present day.
Following the previously mentioned Bit Wars, bits are an indication of how complex of a calculation can a processor handle, and therefore the general conception is the bigger, the better. Companies are constantly pushing new hardware to achieve higher bits because it is the first things customers look at. The idea of marketing bits as an indication of power was not actually relevant when Nintendo entered the market with their first console, the Nintendo Entertainment System, in 1985. However, it solidified Nintendo's dominant position in the console market due to being the first console to bring back the video game industry, which was inactive due to a market crash caused by Atari and other predecessors. It was the release of Sega's console, the Sega Genesis, that led to this arms race. Sega primarily used bits for aggressive marketing and tried to outweigh Nintendo through strong graphic fidelity and media dominance. This form of competition is now known as a console war. Nintendo knew that in order to regain their share of the market, they have to not only provide strong graphical capabilities, but they also had to be innovative, providing never-seen-before experiences. That is when Nintendo released the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which was a combination of innovative game experiences with genre-defining titles and beautiful graphics. From that point onwards, Nintendo became the most well-known game company in the world and became the best choice for all players, or at least until the console wars entered the next stage. After a period of this arms race, it is only natural for companies to try and break boundaries between the dimensions and achieve 3D gaming. One of the first 3D game consoles that ever entered the market was the Atari Jaguar. The console advertised itself as the first 64-bit console, revolutionizing the video game industry. However, it was a major commercial failure because the machine had two 32-bit processors attached to each other, and the games had strong technical difficulties along with failing to meet graphical expectations. On top of that, the various games designed by Atari to come along the console were all badly designed with poor performance, and there was a very small library of games by third-party studios. After that, Nintendo started their project, the Nintendo PlayStation, which was done in collaboration with Sony. However, Sony cancelled the project and released the console themselves by the name the Sony PlayStation instead. After seeing the commercial success of the PlayStation, Nintendo decided to create the true breaker of boundaries, and that later became the N64. Combining Nintendo's reputation and the mission to create the ultimate 3D gaming experience, Nintendo strictly followed Miyamoto's design philosophy to make sure the machine managed to solve most, if not all, the technical difficulties presented at the time. This can be seen in every aspect of the console, both in the game and in the machine itself. The very first thing that users will notice is the unique shape of the N64's controller. Unlike its predecessors, the N64 utilizes a joystick, which allows the player to move their characters in a full 360 degrees range of motion. Already, this solved the issue with traversal that the previous two consoles had.
The 360-degree playing environment is part of the attraction and the challenge.
When you control him, he's kind of hard to control because he goes so fast and you don't know which way you want to go.
For some players, a little body movement seems to do the trick.
The next addition that the N64 brought is the Z-button, positioned in the back of the middle section in a shape similar to the gun's trigger. The Z-button is generally used for multiple functions and is most known for its application in 3D action games as the Z-lock, or lock-on button. The ability to lock onto the targets that the player wants to fight effectively eliminates the difficulty of manually positioning the player character. and focused primarily on the target for a smooth combat experience. After the innovations on the controller, Nintendo made sure that the flagship game that would come with the launch of the N64 would be able to use all the capabilities of the N64 and push it to the very limit. In the end, Nintendo decided to let their flagship franchise to represent their push towards a new dimension. Super Mario 64 is created, full of brand new software functions that blew the minds of players and critics alike. The most important function that was introduced along with Super Mario 64 was the usage of Level of Detail, or LOD for short. Level of Detail is the ability of loading in a lower resolution model for objects that are far away from the player. It allows the console processors to generate more powerful imagery and save processing power in the process. The next innovation was the usage of a dedicated RAM memory system, which allowed the N64 to preload segments of the game and store it for later use. Basically, when the player is in the first stage, and there are paths to the second stage and the third stage, the console will preload data for those two stages so that when the player chooses any one of them, the stage will instantly load in. Afterwards, the additional data will be removed from memory and the console will preload the next stages. This provides a seamless experience for the player, free of loading screen, and allows for developers to make their games larger and more expansive, as the system does not have to load the entire game at once now, but instead loads in segments, or usually in levels or stages. The introduction of Mario 64 and the brand new technologies instantly made the N64 into a smash hit within the video game industry, generating a total of 32 million total sales worldwide in its rather short lifespan. The rapid leap in technology has caused a tremendous impact towards the industry, and other companies were forced to learn how to create 3D video games in order to catch up to Nintendo's levels. More and more games were created with brand new ideas, and many of them today still use the exact same design philosophy that Nintendo used for developing the N64. For example, 2022's Game of the Year, Elden Ring, still uses the lock-on feature created by the Z-Button and Ocarina of Time to create a fluid combat experience. And technology such as Level of Detail has become a standard for virtually every single video game created in this day and age. Not only did games and systems become better and better, so did controllers as well. Although the N64 controller was revolutionary at its time, in retrospect it is an extremely awkward controller to use. The M shape it had meant that it is physically impossible to reach every button without having the user to move their hands between the three grips. Controllers nowadays have adopted brand new layouts, like adopting a second joystick to operate the camera and extending the back end to have both bumpers and triggers in one place. Button layouts have improved drastically as well, so players can reach all buttons without readjusting their hands. So far, it has only been improvements from the N64.
The release of the N64 wasn't just one product of the Bit Wars, but also a turning point in video gamer history. Introduction towards new technologies, solution towards 3D gaming's biggest problems, and brand new game design, just like what Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of N64, said. The N64 was not just one product, but also the solution to 3D gaming as a whole. The introduction of Level of Detail to improve resolution and segment loading to improve hardware performance and longevity were pivotal to the future of entertainment technologies as a whole. Its influence can be seen in the popularity of 3D gaming in today's market, and the emphasis on immersive gameplay experiences. The N64 not only shaped the direction of the video game industry, but also created a market that is now valued at $300 billion. Its impact on the entertainment technologies and multiplayer gaming cannot be overstated, and its legacy continues to shape the industry to this day.